pull up here.
All right. Let's see. Ugh. I'm going to be letting some people roll in here. Hope everyone's doing pretty well today. It's going to be a fun show. This is going to be a fun one. Just doing some slight audio balancing here. You know, making sure that things are looking good for this broadcast. Wow. Whoops. Hold on. Sometimes you actually have to kind of make sure. Just doing an audio test. You guys can hear me well, right? Making sure that we're all sounding good, feeling good. Just let me know. All right. So that should be good, huh? I'll try not to yell to the best of my ability. Okay. Oh, let's see here. I'm going to be letting some people roll in. I'm going to be letting everybody know that we are officially live. If you have any thoughts, any questions, you want to talk to me, this is your opportunity to really talk to me right now. Uh, I'll give some personal news, etc. But, you know, we're just going to be getting started in the next few minutes here. Oh, okay. I'm in a good mood. I trust everybody is in a good mood here. So, let's get this started. Should probably drop the link, right? Drop the link to everybody. Then, let's see. I also have to post this on Snapchat. Isn't that kind of crazy? We're also going to be discussing. Oh my gosh. We're going to also be discussing one of the latest box posts. You're welcome to watch this on Box, on YouTube, or on Twitch. Gotta let the people know here that we are live. can watch this on Box, YouTube, or Twitch. Just another day living, right? Have I ever sent you this? Then one more. Hey, it's good to see you guys. I know, it's kind of awkward watching me take a selfie, right? Am I allowed to add a link to a link? I appreciate that, jailers. I will be reaching out soon here, okay? I try to make these like it's supposed to be fun, but also educational. Edutainment, as you already know. I'm just letting some other people know what's going on here. And I'm so curious, what is going on when it comes down to attaching a link on Instagram? I used to be able to do this. What happened? Oh, okay, I see it now. That's so funny. Yeah, thanks, Rock Rock. Oh my god, I'm getting notifications up the wazoo. This is why I always find it so funny whenever I decide to actually start to distribute this on a larger scale, letting people know that, hey, I'm going live. And then all of a sudden my phone starts to get riddled with notifications, and then I remember, wow, this is the age that we're in, huh? One more. Okay. You guys get to hear an echo because I'm going to be doing an audio check. Hello. How are we sounding? We're sounding pretty good, aren't we? Just another day. Okay. Yo, jailers, could you actually drop your Discord either towards my Twitter/X account, or you can actually make a post on Box for people to join your Discord. If you don't know what Box is, oh, you dropped your username right there. Yeah, I'll do this later, okay? All right. I hope everyone is doing well today. This is going to be a pretty fun stream, pretty fun broadcast here. I'm just gonna, let's see. There's some glare here. I mean, like, are we looking good? We're looking good. We're feeling good. Here's just a little bit of a update. Let's do a personal update, right? As usual. So, took out Saturn, made sure she's well fed. She's not in the room right now, and I'll be sure to be able to show you guys her in a moment. If you guys, because a couple of you really love to see Saturn. If you're not familiar with Saturn, that is my border collie, and now she is almost 2 years old, and she's been growing. I'm very proud of her. She can get on my nerves once in a while, but I'll tell you something. I love her so much. Oh my god. She's too cute. She's too cute. For today's broadcast, we are going to be going over XRP, the cataclysmic rise that has been going on over the past 2 weeks with XRP, on top of other cryptocurrencies. We will also take a brief look at Trump apparently backtracking tariffs. And we will also be looking at BRICS, the status with BRICS, as well as the global south in general, how they're doing. And we'll have some fun here and there. We'll be looking at some box posts, as well as a couple of videos that people have sent me just for me to, be able to react to or engage with. How are you guys doing today? I hope your Thanksgiving was pretty good. My Thanksgiving was fine. It was all right. Family is always a good time, right? But as we get started here, I'm actually just going to be pulling up, give me a moment. I'm going to be pulling up the XRP chart. The XRP chart, man. It is pretty sick. The whole community has been vindicated. I'll tell you that. Do you guys believe that XRP will eventually surpass Bitcoin? I do believe XRP will surpass Bitcoin on my end. All right, got the chart pulled up. I'm not the best when it comes down to analysis or graph analysis with currency charts in general. However, I am skilled enough when it comes down to what are the different strategies that I'm pretty used to. There's moving averages as well as, Bollinger Bands. Resistance levels. We already broke the resistance at oh my god, I'm not trying to look at the market cap. We already broke the resistance at 1.5. And ever since then, we've started to skyrocket. Now, we will also be looking at the sentiment, the general sentiment with how people are feeling with cryptos right now, because there's always the greed versus fear index that is very, very important to check out. Because as Warren Buffett says, when people are greedy, it is good to sell. When people are fearful, it's good to buy. I will always try to be a realist whenever it comes down to the value of these currencies. Okay? Now, let's get started here. As you can see, when it comes down to the fear versus greed index, sorry, Saturn's trying to get in. I'm going to let her in to the room. 1 second, guys. When it comes down to the greed versus fear index, we are at an 81. Last updated today. Greed versus fear, 81. What does that mean? Well, if we actually look at how people have been feeling over the past month, right? 7 days, month. Listen, since November 2nd, people have been getting more greedy when it comes down to Bitcoin. I do believe that it has to do with the election of Trump as well, because Trump is very, or at least he's creating a cabinet and trying to implement a congressional structure that is super pro crypto. Is this good or is it bad? Well, I'm going to tell you something. It is good in the moment. We'll talk about XRP. We'll talk about some of the news. But when it comes down to Bitcoin, again, daddy crypto here. When people start to buy into it in large sums, or there's a wave of like, oh, yeah, this is good, it is a very important time to be cautious. Every time I show this, I will read through this. Okay. Why measure fear and greed? The crypto market behavior is very emotional. People tend to get greedy when the market is rising, which results in FOMO. Also, people often sell their coins in a rational reaction of seeing red numbers. With our fear and greed index, we try to save you from your own emotional overreactions. There are two simple assumptions. Extreme fear can be a sign that investors are too worried. That could be a buying opportunity. When investors are getting too greedy, that means the market is due for correction. And I'll tell you something. Is the market due for correction? Ooh, I would have to say yes. Absolutely. The market is due for a correction. It's not going to be like so deep. It's not going to be crazy. It's just if you've been in this game long enough, you can see it as well. You can obviously see, oh, it looks like it's time to check out what people are saying. What are people saying? Let's go on to X. So, oh man, we're going to have to repost this. From Fox Business, let's. Ripple poised for New York approval of stablecoins set to enter regulated U.S. crypto market. Hey, that's extremely bullish.
I had a good call with Donald Trump last night again.
Let me refresh this real quick.
Talked about laying out the facts, talking about how.
Okay. Trump considers creating White House crypto role.
I had a good call with Donald Trump last night again. We obviously talked about laying out the facts, talking about how the intense and effective connections between our two countries flow back and forth. We talked about some of the challenges that we can work on together.
Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum is claiming that migrant caravans are no longer reaching the United States. She's suggesting that her country could place retaliatory tariffs on the U.S. if Trump goes through with the plan.
We will be talking about tariffs soon enough. Don't you worry.
Sheinbaum also claiming that both countries will suffer from tariffs. Watch this.
It is not acceptable and would cause the U.S. and Mexico inflation and
a threat. Helping to stop.
Yeah, we're going to fast forward because we're trying to actually get into.
Walk us through how that plays out. What for stepping down in January? Congressman, I know of the digital asset market. All of this happening as Trump gets the chance to pick the next head of the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, with Chairman Gary Gensler stepping down in January. Congressman, I know you.
Gary Gensler stepping down? What? Guys. We've still been vindicated. We have been vindicated. Gary Gensler stepping down. There are two culprits that have affected the economy in ways that have caused more damage than they've actually created solutions. I will say Jerome Powell, as well as Gary Gensler. Why do I say this? The thing is, if we go off of MMT, modern monetary theory here, the idea of creating money is only as valuable as violent as you're willing to be. But if you use money as a form of violence with itself, there are going to be other countries and other organizations that start to look at you, that start to say, hey, why are you trying to weaponize your own currency against us as if we care? That is the fallacy of the US dollar. That the only thing that truly backs up its value is the US military. When you actually have your only form of power and control being violence and coercion, as opposed to like it's not raising like the material conditions of the average person, it is not improving the life of the average person, and in fact the average person, because we're in a global economy, is looking at you like you're the funny one who keeps trying to roll across the floor and scream, I'm important, I'm important, I'm important. That's the US dollar right now. Like, I'm important, I'm important, I'm important. No, that's not the way it works. You're only as important as the value that you provide. When you no longer provide any meaningful value that actually improves the livelihood of those around you, it's only those that are extremely greedy and freaking demagogues and charlatans that show up and say, hey, look at me, look at me. I'm willing to give you this paper money, and if you don't take it and you don't see that it's of value, you'll die. Come on. This is history repeating itself right here. Right? And whenever it comes down to history repeating itself, or more so rhyming, people get confused. People really get confused like, oh, hasn't this happened before? Well, yes. And then unfortunately, there are people that do not understand history or are undereducated of like how these things have occurred before and don't know how to navigate the system that we are in. Muddy waters, muddy waters, muddy waters. And I'll tell you something. The fact that Gary Gensler and Jerome Powell are on the chopping block only makes me feel this. Yes. I don't think they should be killed or arrested. I just think they have no business being there. It's also ironic. Now, this is some uniparty stuff right here, that if you look who appointed them to their positions, it was Trump. But sometimes when you're appointed into a position of power, you can get a big head and feel like you're untouchable until the guillotine starts to look at you and say, hey, you are not somebody that is above this. You are not somebody who can just do anything. You are supposed to do right by the people. And unfortunately, you found a way to do the opposite. You got greedy. You wanted to impose your power. You wanted to make things stagnant. You wanted to ignore the future. You wanted to avoid progression. So with that, the future of Gary Gensler and Jerome Powell, I can only salute you, because you are obviously not holding the best interest of the public. You are simply going off of dogmatic bureaucratic processes that no longer apply to our modern age.
You've been working on digital assets a lot, and you see major change coming. Walk us through how that plays out. What do you expect?
Well, we are going to unlock innovation in America again. This has been very frustrating under Joe Biden and Gary Gensler at the SEC, who has gone out with this power that he thinks he has to do these unreasonable enforcement actions and try and guide an industry into the ground. Today, you know, the headline is Donald Trump wants to make America a leader in digital assets. If you think of it this way, back in 1995, America unleashed the power of the internet, Web 1.0. We are on the dawn of Web 3.0, and we are riding in the backseat with countries like the UAE and the European Union and Singapore dictating to the rest of the world how we're going to treat digital assets. This is America's issue. This is something that we need to do to make sure that the U.S. dollar remains the world's reserve currency.
Oh,
and, with the announcement.
Oh, okay. Okay. I think he's putting the cart before the horse there. I disagree. I disagree. We've already weaponized the dollar. To make the U.S. dollar to continue to being the world's reserve currency is going to be such an uphill battle that it's a bit of a fantasy. Look at the price of one Bitcoin right now. Would you rather get $1? If I were to show up, if I were to knock on your door and say, I'm going to give you $1, or would you rather have one Bitcoin? Even a child can answer that question very frankly. Reserve currency, my ass. Reserve currency, my ass. That's not the way it works. That's not economics. That's bullshit.
Announcements you're talking about, we're going the right direction.
So tell me about that. How do you keep the dollar as the world's reserve currency while also creating a backdrop for growth in digital assets? What's the plan?
I can tell you how to do it, but
two different approaches.
Actually, let me take a prediction of what he's going to say here. The approach is to have the dollar be backed by said digital currency, Bitcoin. The other approach is to kill people.
One is stablecoins. And on the Financial Services Committee, we have, thanks to Chairman McHenry and Congressman French Hill and so many other hardworking members, we've put together an entire stablecoin regime. Now, remember, a stablecoin is backed by $1 in a U.S. bank. One stablecoin equals $1. It allows emerging economies in continents like Africa to trade essentially in U.S. dollars using a stablecoin regime that is backed by, American banks. That's what we're excited about in Congress. This isn't about replacing the U.S. dollar. It's about strengthening its power and then simply creating a market structure where regulators can say, okay, Bitcoin is a commodity. It's going to be regulated by the CFTC. This asset over here is a security, and it would fall under the domain of the Securities and Exchange Commission. We're not talking about building a fancy mansion. We're talking about building a foundation on which digital assets can exist and thrive and unlock that innovation in America that has been really offshored for so long. That's why Bitcoin ends up in the Bahamas, because they couldn't live here and be subject to real regulation. I shouldn't say Bitcoin, I'm sorry, FTX.
I love what you're saying, because you're making the rules clear. And I think the clarity end of this was one of the issues for this market to really be believed, because people weren't sure who was running it, who was overseeing it, and what the rules were. And that was because the Biden administration just threw lots of climate change agenda rules at every single agency. Isn't that right? And corporations had to follow all of those new regulations.
Well, they were busy with the environmental stuff, and then this idea with digital assets that we're going to use enforcement actions. You don't even know what the law is, right? There's really nothing on some of these subjects, and suddenly you've got an SEC investigation shutting down markets. Gary Gensler set America back 20 years. We are nowhere near where we need to be in terms of the digital asset economy with stable coins. And it really, thank God President Trump is here, it's really going to unlock a new era for America and in fintech.
And I know you want to be number one ahead of China. China also wants that role. Do you want to say anything about China and pushing back on some of the passage of a legislation to exclude U.S. sanctioned companies, Chinese companies, and their subsidiaries?
This is nuts.
Access to our capital.
This is nuts that we've reached this point. Remember when everyone was like, oh, no, crypto, no, it's too scared. Man, I'll tell you something. These... Sorry, I was about to freak out there. But you know what? No. Let me rant. Listen. These itches, right? The sheep will always try to hold on to the status quo because that's what they're used to. Even if they're suffering. They like to just sit over here and imagine a world that doesn't change. That does not progress, that does not move forward, whether it's technologically, whether it's socially. It's ridiculous. Why? Honestly, asking if you decide to ask yourself why and contemplate why, you'll go crazy. I've asked myself why. If you are willing to embrace change for a better future, you'll be on the good side of history. If you do the opposite, guess what, you idiot? You're not gonna be able to participate in this new world that we're entering, that we've been entering for almost since 2008. I mean, I would say it started before I was born, but this real new world, this new financial system that we're entering, come on. It's so obvious. It's ridiculous. Whatever. I just know when it comes down to this community, as well as myself, we've been vindicated. And this has been happening over and over and over and over. Now, to get back to it, New York's top regulator is close to greenlighting a new stablecoin issued by cross-border payments company Ripple. Fox Business has learned. People close to the matter say that the New York Department of Financial Services has indicated to Ripple it will approve. What is that? No. Has indicated to Ripple it will approve the product, and the company is eyeing a possible launch the date of December 4th. If approved, as expected, Ripple will be allowed to legally offer its stablecoin called RLUSD to the public, positioning it as the major player in New York's regulated digital finance market and the wider stablecoin ecosystem. Press officials for Ripple and the Financial Services Department, known by its acronym NYDFS, had no comment. Oof. Ripple's core business centers around its decentralized global payments network, RippleNet, which uses blockchain technology to provide faster, cheaper, and more efficient cross-border payment solutions for banks and businesses. It's billed as an alternative to the global bank settlement system called SWIFT. Ripple's native token XRP serves as a bridge currency to settle those transactions, but the token is currently in the regulatory limbo in the United States as the Securities and Exchange Commission continues to argue in court that it's an unregistered security. You see, guys, let's have some fun. Let's have some fun. Gary Gensler fired.
This afternoon, I'm laying out my plan to ensure that the United States will be the crypto capital of the planet and the Bitcoin superpower of the world, and we'll get it done. If crypto is going to define...
Again, I'm not pro-Trump, and I'm not against him. I didn't vote for this guy. But we have to be very frank.
The future, I want to be mined, minted, and made in the USA. It's going to be. It's not going to be made anywhere else. And
he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Bitcoin is going to the moon, as we say. It's going to the moon. I want America to be the nation that leads the way, and that's what's going to happen. I pledge to the Bitcoin community that the day I take the oath of office, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's anti-crypto crusade will be over. It will end. It'll be done. It'll be done. On day one, I will fire Gary Gensler and appoint a new SEC chairman.
Should I make a meme right now?
Previously, Trump was against Bitcoin, but now he's become a great supporter. So after
this
Trump
idiot
has won the presidency, people are expecting a crypto boom in 2025. I'm going to show you why. But first, I want to show you
I'm not even going to give... looking at this guy's balding face and head, I'm good. I'm good, man.
This afternoon, I'm laying out my plan to ensure that the United States will be the...
It's ridiculous, man. Absolutely ridiculous.
Capital of the planet and the Bitcoin superpower of the world. Upon taking office, I will immediately appoint a Bitcoin and crypto presidential advisory council. If I am elected, it will be the policy of my administration, United States of America, to keep 100% of all the Bitcoin the U.S. government currently holds or acquires into the future. We'll keep 100%. I hope you do well, please.
I hope you do well, please. Yeah. Listen. Linda, listen. I will be giving an analysis of the likely outcomes of this whole situation because I I agree that Trump is he has fascist like tendencies and he's the TV man. America loves TV. America loves its entertainment. I highly believe that Trump does not know how Bitcoin works. I highly believe that as we enter this next stage of late stage capitalism that's pushing towards techno feudalism, if you don't have access to these technologies or these systems to any sort of degree, you are simply screwed unless you decide to learn about it and educate yourself. It's a bittersweet reality that we're in. Like everybody saw the people who knew that the ship was heading this way, knew the ship was heading this way. And I'm happy. I'm so happy that I can be a part of this as well. However, I think my empathy starts to spring up. I think of the people that are completely in the dark, that have doubled down on being closed-minded towards the future. There are major risks of the whole idea of like cryptocurrencies and digital currencies in general being the mainstay here, being the new financial system. And if you guys do understand that everything being logged on the blockchain means every transaction is logged on the blockchain, meaning every time that you do spend money, it's logged on the blockchain. And you think it's difficult for it to be attached to an identity? No. If you have the right amount of resources, it will be attached to your identity, how you spend your money, how you actually live your life. That is the catch-22 here. The people who adopt it first seem to get the most out of it, and then the people who adopt it later are facing the consequences of it existing. I'm a realist.
If crypto is going to define the future, I want to be mined, minted, and made in the USA. On day one, I will fire Gary Gensler and appoint a new SEC chairman.
Okay, now I want to tell you this. Just to clarify, Trump said that he wants to fire Gary Gensler. Okay, so Gary Gensler is the chair of the SEC. Gensler has an aggressive stance against crypto, and Trump is all about loosening up regulation. So Trump wants him out. Now, I want to show you the Bitcoin Act in Congress that Trump is backing. So here it is. This originated in the Senate from Senator Loomis. So the short title of the bill is the Bitcoin Act of 2024. Now, if you go to page 2 of the bill, you're going to see this. The U.S. government would buy and store large quantities of Bitcoin to strengthen the financial condition of the United States and hedge against economic uncertainty and monetary instability. So the U.S. government would essentially establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve. So there would be a purchase program, and this is how it would work. So the government would buy up to 200,000 Bitcoins per year over a 5-year period, so up to 1 million Bitcoin in total. But That's the thing. If the government started buying up Bitcoin, then it would skyrocket the price. And then we would be talking about a figure that's much higher. I would say minimum hundreds of billions of dollars, perhaps even $1 trillion.
So, this is an opportunity to let you know what it means to kill the US dollar. Okay, guys? The fiat, the idea of the US dollar being a fiat currency, this is how it is done. This is how you can continue to have it being the world currency. You decide to find the most valuable currency and you buy up the most. You buy up as much as you can. And then you have that currency back your dollar that you can continue to print. It is a wild play. It may work, but I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe. It just might work. But who knows? Well, are you sure? Frankfurt on YouTube, are you sure that that's actually going to be a possibility? What he essentially had asked is, do you truly believe that Bitcoin is going to be the pseudo world reserve currency? It already technically is. What people do not understand is that we are in an economic race to the finish line. It's either going to be the global south or, oh my gosh, or the United States. And the thing is, this makes me think of a video that was shared with me. I will be watching with you guys here about the issues with democracy. This is funny, okay? It's a funny one. Are you guys into Star Wars? I hope you guys are into Star Wars. We're about to have a discussion. I don't think the system works. So this is from a pretty funny channel. I can tell that he does use AI when it comes down to the voice acting here, but it is still a critical analysis of where we're at today. The Democratic Republic of the United States. I believe that this is going to be one of the more academic parts of the broadcast here. The irony. I know a couple of people who do talk like this, by the way. I don't talk like this unless I'm forced to, or I'm like, it's a sort of debate, but I find it irritating or hilarious at the same time. Where people, I don't need to give you guys the intro. I'll just let you go. We will be discussing this, okay? We will be discussing this.
I don't think the system works.
How would you have it work?
What an excellent question, and one which, coincidentally, I have put some light thought into of late. Allow me to briefly summarize a very high-level overview of how I believe the system should work.
Oh, Anakin, you know you can go as deep as you want to with me.
Duly noted! But perhaps we can go deeper another time. Regardless, the first question one must ask oneself is, what is the core of good governance? I propose there are 4 pillars, which our present system sorely lacks. The Twi'lek thinker Thomas Hobbes outlined that the first priority of government was to avoid the horrors of violence and war. It was, he argued, a dichotomy between the state of nature prior to setting up a government wherein one would live one's life sans any security, bar that which you yourself can bring with your own strength and that of a common power, keeping the peace internally and protecting against foreign invasion.
I have a body part that'd be open to foreign invasion.
Okay.
Ashab's Advancing the Work of Pla'ado outlines the notion of a contract wherein individuals would give up some natural freedoms in exchange for a measure of security granted them by the state. The Hutt thinker Locke, writing after Thomas Schaub's, agreed with the latter's arguments, introducing tacit consent, whereby one is implicitly agreeing to the authority of the government by living within a state, even for a short time.
Okay, I think I get the gist. We can go do other things now.
It is important to note this description of government has been heavily...
There are literally people I know that, like, when you get them cooking on a certain idea, a certain topic, especially a certain theology, they will not stop. They need for you to understand. I mean, I feel the same way whenever I'm trying to explain something to someone, because at least you know what? Because at least I do something about, like, the way I believe. I don't just sit here and, like, theorize, like, oh, these things. No, I put things towards action, towards this technocratic society that we're in. And look, I'm doing it right now.
critiqued by the Rhodian thinker David Hume. He points out that the original establishment of states was formed by violence and submitted to only by necessity. He goes further, noting that the notion of tacit consent only makes sense against a background of free choice.
I think we should retire to my rooms.
Why? We're both so young. I plan to work until I die.
No.
Returning to our...
Oh, man. Do you guys ever feel like you're going to work until you die? I just pray that you have a passion for the work that you do.
Prior conversation. Does a poor artisan deep within Alderaan have the ability to simply leave the Republic? With what credits could they do so? Hu'um's point was that we do not need contract theory to ground our obligation to respect the state's authority. It is common sense society would collapse without such respect. Of course, this was but an interesting side tangent. The minutiae of contract theory are very intriguing, and we can perhaps engage with it another time.
Contract theory. Oh, do you want me to talk about contract theory? It is the social contract that we are within when it comes down to the Western world. It is not just the United States, it's the Western world that we've agreed to have, what is it called? Like, we have different types of freedoms. We have positive freedoms and negative freedoms. The freedom to not be bugged, the freedom to not, someone doesn't like mess with you. That's where you have your security. But the thing is, if you mess with other people, then your rights will be impeded on haphazardly or unjustly, however you may feel. If there is a perception that you're impeding on the rights of another, the state does have the authority to intervene. This also does go with travel. This also does go with where you work. This also does go with what you can buy. This is the fallacy of the democratic system in which we do have right now. You are technically not free to just do whatever you want. There's a lot of negative freedoms that are imposed upon the American public and generally Western society. Do I think this is good? Do I think this is bad? I think it is. That's all I think. This is just the system that we are working with. And in order to prevent the necessity of a negative freedom, I do believe it is wise to improve the material conditions of the average person. But we've created laws that enable certain people to exploit certain freedoms in order to put a thumb on one's growth or one's livelihood, hence Citizens United, as well as No Child Left Behind within our educational system, but that is an aside. And I just did what Anakin is doing right here. My goodness.
However, the core point I was attempting to communicate was that government is intended to keep the peace. Yet, what do we see in the Republic? The rumblings of a civil war, fermented by planets attempting to freely leave the Republic, which, as an addendum to our previous interesting side tangent,
and that is why BRICS exists the way that it does. That is why BRICS exists the way that it does. Ladies and gentlemen, at what point do you try to do so much good that you turn evil?
Contract theory suggests they should be able to do, yet they struggle. Alas, I fear peace is not something this present system offers us, despite it being a core pillar of a good government.
You're not picking up what I'm putting down.
Why? Have you dropped something?
Only a few dozen hints.
Next, we must turn our attention to another core aspect of what I believe is crucial for any government to offer its citizens: freedom. Now, we must be precise in what we mean by freedom, after all, as argued by Ashab's total freedom. Without government means a freedom to die, perhaps through exposure to the elements, perhaps at the claws of a wampa.
You say it almost like those would be threats you'd face back to back.
Could you imagine?
Vividly. I like to imagine it'd be on the ice planet Hoth. Perhaps I'd be rebelling against a cruel and oppressive empire.
No one's ever engaged with my hypothetical before. Anyway, philosophy. Consider, therefore, the notion argued by the Wookiee philosopher.
What I find so funny about philosophy and the whole school of thought of what philosophy is the idea of thinking about thinking and understanding what is there to understand. It's such an Ouroboros train of thought. That's why some people go crazy over it.
Philosopher Isaibalin. There are two basic types of freedom, negative and positive. Negative freedom is, fundamentally, the freedom from interference. For example, I have a right to tell anyone and everyone about how sand is coarse and rough and irritating, and that it gets everywhere without Master Eathcoth beating me up and stealing my lunch money.
Does that happen often?
Anyway, philosophy.
I mean, like, sometimes when I decide to criticize something, I do get taxed for it. Not necessarily financially, but sometimes emotionally.
It's worth noting that not all restrictions on one's possible choices are infringements on negative freedoms. If one wished to do something unnatural, like shooting lightning from their fingies...
Why do you call fingers fingies?
That's just because that's what my mother called them when I was younger. So I've kept up the habit. In a way, it feels like keeping a small piece of her with me. Especially because when I asked if we could free her from the slavery we left her in, I was told no. Well, actually, Yoda looked me up and down, said slavery was a skill issue, then walked off. But I took it as a no.
We should go save her. Or
guys,
check in on her at
is
least.
slavery...
Well, I'm sure she's fine.
Is slavery a skill issue or just not being lucky? Okay. Pop quiz. For the chat here. Is slavery a skill issue, or is it just you being unlucky? You want me to ask? I'm going to ask it again. Is slavery a skill issue, or is it you being unlucky? Do you want me to answer the question? Are you serious? Now you're starting to make me want to answer. What is slavery, huh? Okay. Slavery is doing work or providing labor towards a goal that you'll never see the fruits for. You may be given some like candy here and there, but you'll never see the outcome of your labor. The value of it. You'll never realize it. And see, now I sound like a Marxist. I'm not. I'm just saying that's what it is. We do have a lot of wage slaves. Let's just continue on.
Besides, Jedi aren't supposed to have attachments.
No attachments? But what about love?
I asked Yoda about love once. He just told me that women only want alimony and child support, then said MGTOW for life and threw a sofa at me. Anyway, one's
Jedi son. My God, Yoda sounds like an asshole.
inability to do the unnatural of shooting lightning from their fingies doesn't mean their freedom is being impinged.
You say it's unnatural, but what about Master Plo Koon's electric judgment?
That's just a legend.
How can you have a legend about someone who isn't dead? Couldn't we just ask him?
Positive freedom is the freedom to do something rather than the freedom from interference. Returning to our example of Naboo.
Positive and negative freedom. Sorry. My God.
And, after all, one may not have the credits to do so.
Or one may be blockaded by the Trade Federation.
We've arrived at another core failing of the Republic. Consider the invasion of Naboo. The Trade Federation blockaded the planet, and if they had their way, we would still be restrained while the...
That's the irony of cryptocurrencies, just a heads up. There was a... Oh my God. The SEC. Here, they're known as the Federal Trade Commission?
Consider the invasion of Naboo. The Trade Federation blockaded the planet.
The Trade Federation.
If they had their way, we would still be restrained while the Trade Federation inflicted atrocities. The Republic fails to secure freedoms for its citizens, both positive and negative. Those on Naboo were not free from the harm inflicted by the blockade, nor were they enabled to live their best lives.
Are you living your best life, Anakin?
I'm not sure. Last week, Master Obi-Wan told me...
Force above, Anakin! How many times have I told you not to turn your back on me while I'm talking to you? It makes me so mad I could just hurl myself out of the window!
He survived, but it gives one pause for thought. What if Jedi keep jumping out of windows around me? Whatever, I'll burn that bridge when I come to it. We must therefore add another pillar to our understanding of good governance. An appropriate balance of positive and negative freedoms. Or more simply, and thus more fittingly...
Just like Anakin, yes, I care way too much. I care way too much about this stuff. I do. But at least I can tell you, as we are at the 15-minute mark before the top of the hour, I highly encourage that if you are actually watching this on YouTube, subscribe. You're watching this on Twitch, subscribe. You're watching this on Box, at least you have the opportunity to actually receive compensation for your participation in the near future, because there's still additional coding that I need to do in order to further this platform. Now, you may be curious about what is Box? What is built on XRP? What is Box Media? We are a platform that enables you to receive currency, albeit US dollars, or the Box token, if you are outside the USA, for your participation. We revenue share, similar to X, but we want to make sure that we are able to talk and build a community that is relevant to the world around us, to the new world around us. We talk about multitude of things, and we will be talking about the latest post that has been featured in the next hour. If you're not watching this on Box, and if you're not signed up for Box, I can only tell you this. You're missing out. And with that, I pass.
With our other identified pillar, freedom.
Interesting. Please continue.
You actually like
I'm
listening
going to
me?
the bathroom.
Of course.
Be right back.
I was a bit distracted at first, but I think you're as engaging as you are handsome.
I'm sorry. The Jedi never taught me how to respond to positive feedback. Well, one time Master Windu gave me a compliment when he told me he was glad to finally see my lily-white ass. But I later learned that was sarcasm. Next, let us consider the flaws of democracy, identified by the Bith thinker Plato. He claimed in Book 6 of his work, Republic, that democracy is inferior to other forms of government, broadly on the grounds that democracy is necessarily hostile to the expertise required to appropriately govern societies. He highlights that the structure of democracies result in those who are expert in winning elections and nothing else are those who will come to dominate the democratic scene. After all, democracy emphasizes this expertise at the expense of expertise in solid governance. Ultimately, Plato argues the state will become victim to poorly thought out ideas that demagogues use to help themselves win office, and the state will end up floundering.
You highlight Plato's criticism of elected leaders, but what about Supreme Chancellor Palpatine? He's been very proficient. And he was elected fairly.
I'm sure even Plato would agree he is a rare exception. Sure, Palpatine collects Sith artifacts, wears Sith robes, and is always cackling to himself when he thinks no one is looking, but he's got a wonderful sense of humor, and the only thing he loves more than the arts is the Republic. However, Palpatine is but one man. He could easily end up falling down a seemingly bottomless pit or struck by lightning. And what then? Back to the array of demagogues? One is forced to ask oneself, is this just? Is it right that the proverbial ship of state will be thrown and tossed as endless waves of captains whose only qualification is that they are good at winning the office of captain, play at steering the ship, all the while it heads for the rocks? The answer, Plato argues, and it's one I'm inclined to agree with, is no. This is not just. It is both outrageous and unfair that countless innocent beings should be forced to suffer the ineffectual so-called leadership of such inept beings. Consider the former Supreme Chancellor Valorum, who was unable to act with any effectiveness on the blockade-infringing Naboo.
Oh, we are going to finish this tangent. Don't. No, this is.
A truly just society would be one where the ruler most suited to rule well is in charge. Therefore,
I'll tell you something. This also goes into the Riley economic system, okay? Sometimes, when you create something, it is wise to understand that when people come in without context and try to manage it themselves, they may make it better or they may make it worse. Unfortunately, this is what happened with Rome, and this is also what's happening within the Western world. People coming in without context, and they only see the powers that have been given to them and have no idea why things exist the way that they do. Is it because they're uneducated? Is it because they are greedy? Is it because they are bastards? I don't know. It's a very good question. One that I do not have the answer to.
Therefore, another necessary pillar of state has been identified, that of justice.
But you're not actually against democracy, right? Just against demagogues seizing power.
Sure. Finally, we should consider the thoughts of the Chiss polymath, Myth Thrawn Narodo. In his writings, he will highlight he hasn't written it yet. Anyway, he will highlight that a galaxy unified under a singular leader and with a militaristic focus would be better able to defend against and respond faster to Outside threats such as, hypothetically, an enemy living in the unknown regions of the galaxy seeking to enslave new clients to serve under their hegemon, than the Republic. As the man himself will put it, multiple species with multiple viewpoints and racial philosophies simply cannot hold power together for long. The dominant voice must certainly be wise enough to adopt ideas and methods from its allies and member peoples. But there must be a dominant voice, or there is only chaos. Ultimately, that requires a centralized regime, or put simply, there is a lack of security. To summarize, in its existing political form, the Republic cannot offer peace, freedom, justice, and security. I like to call these the Skywalker Core 4, representing the pillars of good governance. Therefore, in my humble view, any reasonable political system should ensure it offers these core 4 elements as a baseline. That is one which would get my full support.
Interesting. Well, I certainly understand at least a high-level overview of where you're coming from. That being said, I felt your description of freedoms, positive and negative, glossed over some of the nuances and could have done with some expansion. Although, I'm more aligned with the Trandoshan thinker Xuan
You know what's funny?
who argued all rights require both positive duties, such as protective or reparative actions, and negative duties, such as avoidant actions. So, I find the distinction somewhat redundant. Though, as I said before, I'd be happy to go deeper with you.
I believe you said something about retiring to your bedroom.
You know what's crazy? That I had a broken link. Shout out to everybody who knew what was going on. Whoa. Okay. Let me fix this. Let me edit it. Oh my gosh. Pin. Why am I subscribed to this if it doesn't even work? Come on. Oh my gosh. That's ridiculous. But nonetheless, oh my god, now people are also also starting to pull through. That's funny. So let me try again. I feel like I'm spamming people now. But I don't give a... Ooh, you know what? One second, guys. It is gonna just be one moment because wow, it's that's ridiculous. There's a couple people that are now starting to pull through. I had a broken link. But it's one of those things. Hey, Punky, yeah. Honestly, apologies when it came down to the broken link. I sent the broken link to a lot of people. It's ridiculous. I've been talking for like the past 2 hours here. I'm going to be clipping a fair amount of what I've been talking about. Oof. Oof, it was some good stuff. But it's okay. Actually, no. No, no, no. I will be watching something again here. Cuz I already know some people would love to hear my live thoughts, and if you're able to actually give me your live thoughts, it's going to be a fun time. Mm, Which box? That's crazy, man. Nah, but let's get back to it. What's done has been done. Fixed broadcast link. Built on xrp.com/watch box. Are you serious? Hold on. Guys, I subscribe to Twitter and my account is under review right now. And it's so annoying to deal with this. Oh, now I can edit my view? Oh, what? It's funny, right when I started to complain about this. Okay, we're back. Ah. Okay. So, there's this video. Guys, this is your opportunity. If you are over here and you're watching, we can have a live analysis right now. I already talked about this, so I've already pre-watched this. Okay? But this is a very funny one. Anakin's critique of the democracy here. If you're into Star Wars, I'm not really into Star Wars like that. It's just I've watched a lot of Star Wars and I played the games. I know it's so political. It's crazy. And then after I'm finished with talking about this, we will be talking about BRICS. Prior, you guys are going to have to check out the older streams. We are going to be setting up some clips here. Me talking about XRP. But I will also be looking at the new featured post very soon here when it comes down to what is on our platform, Box. Okay? What the hell? Yeah, we are going to be talking about a few things here. But if you are politically involved or you understand how politics actually affects the way that you live and the way that you think and the way that you behave, our institutions, I will be very frank and very forward about this. Okay? This is my second time through with this one, but I really want the audience to know. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching this on Twitch, subscribe or follow. And if you are watching this on Box, you are probably going to receive some rewards within the near future. Any questions? No questions. That's what we like to hear.
Go as deep as you want to with me.
Duly noted. But perhaps we can go deeper another time. Regardless, the first question one must ask oneself is, what is the core of good governance? I propose there are 4 pillars, which our present system sorely lacks. The Twi'lek thinker Thomas Hobbes outlined that the first priority of government was to avoid the horrors of violence and war. It was, he argued, a dichotomy between the state of nature prior...
Actually, no. I'm going to tell you guys something. Why does this matter to me? And by the way, this video right here does have about 390K views. There is let me go into some you could say discography or some history of myself. I'm about to go on Discord, okay? I'm not going to join any live servers. Who is this? Momo's not. Nope. I'm getting distracted. Punky, I'm looking at one of your servers here right now. But right here, listen. When it comes down to exactly creating technology that can improve the material conditions of the average US citizen, not just the US citizen, but just any global citizen, that is the purpose of what we made this for. It will be coming back, and it is coming back. All right, history lesson over. If you ever want to join this chat to really understand and study for yourself, go for it. But what you need to understand is that we are entering a new world. when it comes down to the way that we actually distribute commerce from point A to point B, it's not restricted to America. We are in a global system. Watch this on your own. I will drop it into the chat. I will drop this link into the chat because I've already watched this during this stream. Some people really, yeah, there is a couple of people that really don't want me to watch it again. We're good. We're good. Are you guys actually invested in XRP? Yes or no? What's XRP? That's crazy. All right, we're just going to move on. Let us go into this section that we actually look at box posts. As you already know that I'm not going to be opening up this live because then we'll have a feedback loop. And with this being a broadcasting and media company, I will tell you something. Trying to figure out sound engineering or audio engineering while you're live is a hellscape, and I will not be doing that. Now, the new tinfoil hat. Support our community through the purchase of BUT and NFTs. So this is, I'm going to show you something. The first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to copy this link. I will be saying this. What's his username? He sent me a message. He sent me a message earlier. Bruh. All right. Discussing nope. Discussing BUT token that is built on XRP. But that is built on XRP. Right now, SPS built on XRP.com/watch box. Host. Just the classic thing, guys. Just the classic thing. And then let us discuss this right now. All right. Blue umbrella butt. The new tinfoil hat. Okay. Okay. You know, I'm very critical. Again, you're coming in with somebody who is pretty hypercritical about these things, but I trust that you have the best interest for the community here. Okay. Support our community through the purchase of BUD and NFTs by Blue Umbrella. Posted today at 12:54 a.m. Oh, you are up. You are up. Okay. Created on February 29th, 2024, and given until March 17th, 2024, Sterling Patrick's Day, the public was offered to participate in a distribution initiative. You have my attention. 17 wallets were part of the original distribution of 80 million, leaving 88. Okay, 8,888,800. Leaving 8,888,888 but in the dev wallet. We have the hope that as we grow, we support those that supported us in the beginning. The butt token is meant to help the wandering footprint establish the best tokenomics for the launch of XOM token on the ledger since November 11, 2023, but not for sale. Okay. I already know that this company can increase in value, but I want people to understand exactly what is the tokenomics behind a meme coin, because what you're doing, the new tinfoil hat. All right, another educational lesson here. Ready? Are you guys ready?
Richard Dawkins coined the term meme in his 1976 book, The Selfish Gene. And what he proposed was that human culture was composed, at least in part, of elements, units, that were like genes in that they were copied and copied and copied and copied and copied. And it was the differential copying, the differential replication of these items, these memes, that accounted for the excellent design of so much in human culture. This is a very repugnant and offensive idea to many people, especially in the humanities. They wanted to hang on to the idea of the godlike genius creator who, out of sheer conscious, brilliant comprehension, makes all these wonderful things, whether they're poems or bridges or whatever. He was saying, in effect, well, yes, people do make amazing things, but if you look at the projects in detail, you see that they couldn't do that if they hadn't filled their head with all these informational things, which are like genes, which are also information, but they're not passed down through the germline. They're not passed down through the sperm and the egg. You don't get them with your genes. You get them from the ambient culture, from your parents, from your peers, from the society in which you're raised. It requires perception. A lot of people think, well, wait a minute, there's a huge disanalogy here. Genes are DNA. What's the DNA of memes? And the first thing you have to appreciate is no.
Thanks for the gifted.
DNA. Genes are the information.
I can't speak Japanese.
Genes are no more DNA than poems are made of ink. I mean, you can send somebody a poem that's written in ink, or you can say aloud. There's many different ways of transmitting that poem or saving that poem from one place to another. The same thing is true of genes. Once you get used to thinking of genes as not DNA, but the information carried by the patterns of the nucleotides in DNA, then you can see that there really is a nice parallel. Well then, what's playing the role of DNA in the land of culture? What are the physical implementations? Well, they're wonderfully various. There is ink on paper. There's lines carved into stones. There's
Okay. Yeah. Okay. This goes into meme theory. Essentially, you see, this is what's going on right here. Again, I'm a realist, brother. Butt token seems to be a meme token. What is the utility of it? I'm not going to try to determine that. Seems like you are making a meme token. What does it do? When it comes down to an NFT, you are going off of a belief. You're going off of the belief of making sure or encouraging people to participate towards a certain outcome, right? Or towards a certain way of thinking. That's the thing about the meme token. The meme token is only as valuable as what people believe. If I finish this, I may buy this token if I believe in it. But then again, I will ask you, my good sir, do you know what you are selling? And do you have any sort of ability to push that belief towards fundamental outcomes that'll make things better? We have our allies. Realize I'm part of the Riley economic system as well. We have a product. We have multiple products. It just comes down to this. What are you trying to do? If I'm able to answer that question by the end of this post, because I may not be able to answer it by the end of this post, but I'll tell you something. You already have my attention, as well as the audience's attention here. So, let's go. The boat token is meant to help the Wandering Footprint establish the best tokenomics for the launch of the XOM token on the ledger since November 11, 2023, but not yet for sale. Okay. We are still in the process of teaching those that originally got involved how to create sale orders and participate in the AMM slowly but surely. I don't have enough context. Many people who are going to be reading this are new. Okay? We have been creating NFT collections on XRP.cafe. Interesting. That's new to me. Let's check that out. Let's check that out, guys. XRP.cafe. What? Interesting. Bored Apes XRP Club, Ooga Booga XRP, Bear Ultra Rare Collection, 404 Air Ripple Punks, Pixel Ape, Sigma. All right, you remember what I said about memes? Sigma, PNK, Shrooms, Top G Apes. All right. This is fine. This is fine. What I'm trying to explain here, listen, no, I'm not against meme coins. I'm just trying to explain how to actually like value them properly. Doge is a meme coin. And I feel comfortable to value it properly. Do you value it properly? Comatose X9 on YouTube. Yo, come on. Nah, I'm not going to get into an argument with you. We're good. Yeah, you triggered me there for a second. You don't even know what you're talking about, bro. A meme coin is as valuable as the audience that believes in it, just like any sort of currency, period. The US dollar is only worth something because we are part of a government that issues it and the citizens believe in it and it's backed by violence. It's backed by weapons. The interesting thing about meme coins, it's backed by sentiment. Gold is backed by sentiment. You can do stuff with it, I guess, but even then, most people just hold it and do nothing with it. Oh my god, am I the asshole here? Nah, bro. Nah. Am I confused? Trying to put me in a lock here.
Lines drawn in the sand. There's skywriting. And of course, there's what we're doing right now. There's audible language. And one of the...
It's language based. That's it. Nah, we don't have to finish this. I don't know why I'm trying to convince you. I'm not trying to convince you. I'm just trying to tell what's up. All right. Let's finish up. God damn. The new tinfoil hat and the blue umbrella, where we are featuring allies, including the Reaper Financial and Arc crew. I'm part of it. Okay. NFTs can also be bid on using the butt token on fusion.xio.com. All right, let's check it out. Guys, whenever you're actually trying to participate in a new economic system or create a new economic system, this is the fundamentals. What people do not understand about the fundamentals of economics is that it is off of people's work, effort, and sentiment. I'm backing this guy. I'm down. He's also my ally. I have my own opinions when it comes down to this, but we have to talk. We have to understand when it comes down to the financialization of everything. There's so much to talk about. There's so much. There's so much. Holding but NFTs give the access to the tipper faucet with daily rewards of butt token participants. Yeah, I'm actually going to get involved in this. A portion of the butt NFT sales will go towards the purchase of Box, ARC, RPR, ACS, AAU, and AAG, and Grim, and other utility and meme tokens, along with helping build the infrastructure of the Expectar for the Blue Umbrella Treehouse that will eventually be integrated with the Wandering Home directory. Okay, yo, I only request one thing when it comes down to future posts that are going to be featured on Box. Please understand that some people are going to be coming out of context. I know what's going on. I know what's going on here, and it would still probably take another hour and a half to explain everything that is on this screen, because right now what I'm speaking, what I'm reading, it's so esoteric. So that is my criticism. I will give you a like, and I will repost this on Box, on our Box Twitter, okay? But please, oh please, oh please, for future posts, provide additional context, because this community is expanding at a relatively quick rate, especially with XRP, the XRP token, Ripple, reaching new potential highs very soon. It's extremely important. There are only some people that were able to understand exactly what I was explaining. But if I tried to explain this to the average citizen, the normie, this language does not work. That is my criticism, okay? Good posts, but it's like we're doing this again. It's like talking about the dichotomy of democracy. Like, I can talk about that all day, but I know some people, I can talk their ears off. And they will not pick up a single thing that I'm talking about. The average reading level within the United States is sitting at about 3rd grade to 8th grade, right? I don't mean to be reductive, but that's just the blatant truth. If we want to be elitist about this, this is so good. It's good. It's good. It's just so esoteric. Like if you know type beat. I highly recommend, guys, that you do check out Butt Token. I say this because of the way that XRP is moving and with the Riley economic system is also starting to grow. Okay? Yeah, we're reposting this. It's good. It's going to be fine with the audience that we currently have on Twitter/X. But we're trying to also expand outside of that to reach out to the people who have no idea what how to even download how to even create a crypto wallet, a Web3 wallet. But maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe I'm seeing the trees and missing the forest, right? Maybe I'm wrong. But this is good stuff. Ay, ay, ay. Shout out to Blue Umbrella, by the way. I'm going to issue a follow here. I do believe that we do need to make a Discord, by the way. Eventually, when it comes down to like actually people who are subscribed with Box, you'll be having access to our Discord and we can have like deeper conversations. And also being able to have access to these broadcasts and being able to suggest what should I analyze, what should I check out, along with other shows that are going to be coming onto the Box network here. Okay. So now we are going to be looking at Trump's. He seemed to have expressed backtracking tariffs, but the thing is about Trump, whatever he says, he's the TV man, right? He's the TV man. I can only trust him as far as I can throw him. And I know for a fact he likes to be the face of what's going on, but he's not necessarily making all the decisions within our technocratic, techno-feudal world that we're in. Okay? Well, okay, never mind. Was I wrong? Did I receive false news? He's trying to fight BRICS.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has flown to Florida to have dinner with President-elect Donald Trump at his Mar-a-Lago club after Trump's threatened to impose sweeping tariffs on Canadian products. The meeting reportedly lasted 3 hours. Do you think this was a good move by Justin Trudeau to head down there?
I do. I think we've seen both Trudeau and Sheinbaum in Mexico push back against Trump's announced intention to impose tariffs on Canada and on Mexico on his first day in office. It's an interesting strategy since Canada and Mexico are the two largest trade partners for the U.S. And all three economies are very closely interconnected. So Trump is likely using this to get some sort of leverage like he did in the first administration when he threw out NAFTA and introduced the U.S.-Mexico-Canadian trade partnership. But again, we'll have to see. Trump is playing his cards a little close to his chest on this one, on whether or not he's actually intending on going through, or if this is just another bluff or performance that he's putting on.
Yeah, the opposition party here in Australia wanted our Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, to fly to Mar-a-Lago after the APEC and G20 summits to meet with Trump to talk about tariffs as well, but he resisted those calls. Do you think our Prime Minister should have done the same?
Man, I will be making a video about propaganda over the next 2 weeks on how to do it. And when it comes down to media literacy, a lot of people need to understand this. Just because it's on the TV, just because it's on your screen, just because you are seeing somebody say on a freaking screen. Oh my God. Okay. I may be being a hypocrite right now, but listen. I will be giving a action plan as well as a strategy if you ever want to utilize what they're doing. What these guys are doing to explain these things that are trying to slow down the growth of the New World. We must prepare for an angrier world. But I think there is also a bit of an audience that is, when I say an audience, people who reduce everything towards identity politics are charlatans. Okay? I will only talk about like economics as well as like sociopolitics, some here and there. But there are people that reduce things towards social identity in order to make sure that they have some sort of authority over said groups of people. You want to hear a hot take? This is why I do not support Israel, nor do I support the Democratic Party. And then I think a lot of Republicans are greedy bastards. We are pushing towards a new world in which the material conditions need to improve according to merit, according to what you are able to show up to be able to provide, and improving the communities around us. If we really push towards a crypto-fascist end game for our generation, I am willing to be an apologist for it, because that was never the intention. Yeah, we will be talking about the Riley economic system during one of these broadcasts. Like we're going to have a full dedicated broadcast. I'm going to be bringing on Patrick Riley, who's essentially created, I would say, the true founder of this Riley economic system, built on the XRP blockchain network that has already changed a lot of people's lives. No more questions. No more questions. No more. At least for now.
Well, Trump has traditionally placed a very strong emphasis on personal relationships. Part of the reason that we see him speaking so highly of a number of political leaders that American presidents usually don't speak highly of, like Vladimir Putin or Kim Jong-un, is because of the personal relationship he's managed to cultivate with them and a feeling of comfort he seems to have with them. So I think having some sort of attempt to cultivate a personal relationship would be wise. We hear, for example, reports of Xi in China working on his golf game, knowing that President Trump loves golf. So, again, I think that personal relationship really matters in a Trump administration.
You were mentioning that it could be just a negotiating tactic, these threats of tariffs. But what exactly does Donald Trump want from Mexico and Canada?
Trump feels like American jobs have been moving abroad for a number of years. They have, but not necessarily for the reasons that he has identified. I think ultimately what he's looking for is to see a number of particularly manufacturing jobs that are based in Canada and Mexico onshored back to the United States. With the political realignments we see happening in the U.S., the Republicans are increasingly dependent on working class and blue collar voters. A lot of these, particularly in the very important Midwest swing states, depend on manufacturing jobs for a healthy and robust economy. And if he can't deliver, we'll likely see a redo of what we saw in 2018 when the Republicans get a slight bit of power and then immediately lose it in the following election.
And Patrick, I see that 77% of Canada's exports go directly to the United States. So Canadians, they do have a lot to worry about there, don't they?
Absolutely. Canada and U.S. have long had a deeply interconnected economy, particularly, again, in manufacturing. The manufacturing hubs in the industrial Midwest are closely linked to the manufacturing hubs in southern Canada, particularly on Ontario. And so both countries are likely to face significant economic consequences if there's a trade war between the U.S. and Canada.
But these tariffs, they're mainly focused on China, aren't they?
President Trump used them to target China in the first administration. I think we'll likely see that again. China does play an outsized role in his
Man, Trump really be shooting at our allies. I'll tell you that. Really do be shooting at our allies. Now, we're not going to watch this whole thing, obviously. But let's briefly look at the China show, okay?
In Hong Kong, Shenzhen, and Shanghai, you're watching the...
Because a lot of people don't understand exactly what BRICS is. They don't understand that when it comes down to capitalism, we're not the only people who do it. And in fact, I would say the Global South does a better job at it at this point. That's why we're kind of throwing our hands in the air, and we're trying to reposition ourselves in order to say, hey, we know economics too, but we're primarily following China's lead because, again, we only manufacture culture, violence. Well, we export culture, violence, and what else do we export? You're not going to see Teslas outside of the U.S. We do not manufacture cars for other people outside the country, okay? Food? I guess like we have agricultural exports, but most of the food that we do produce make people sick.
China show. I'm Stephen Engel with Annabelle Jewelers.
Our top stories: Asian stocks slipping as the yen gains following hotter than expected Tokyo inflation. Aussie bond yields in focus as the RBA governor says price pressures there remain too high.
Well, the Chinese consumer sector also in the spotlight today, with Meituan's quarterly earnings growth expected to accelerate in a sign of gradual recovery.
And Link Asset Management CEO George Hongchoi joining us exclusively this hour for their outlook on the retail sector in Hong Kong and the mainland.
Would you ever move? Guys, would you ever move to China if shit went to shit and you would actually live a better life there? Would you do it? Yeah, I'm just asking. Just a question to think about.
Taking a look at how trading is faring this morning, and really as we close off the week here, last day of trading for November as well, we're seeing Asian equities a little bit under pressure, but fairly flat so far, and you can kind of expect that given we had the Thanksgiving holiday overnight. We don't have that lead-in coming across from the US session. S&P 500 futures, again, very flat right now. Where we are seeing sort of more of the trading activity so far in the session is really coming through in the FX and also the bond space as well. Let's take a look at, for instance, how the Japanese yen is faring today.
We're only going to be looking at the first 15 minutes of this because they lets us know the market conditions with BRICS, by the way.
Because we are actually just seeing it moving against the greenback here. Quite a big move, actually. A bit of strengthening coming through. So what's happened is we actually had the Tokyo inflation figures. That's a leading indicator for how CPI is faring in Japan. And we saw it speeding up above that 2% mark. That is the BOJ target. And so it very much makes that December meeting a live decision. Aussie bonds telling us a bit of a different story, actually, this morning. We're seeing yields moving a bit high here today. We actually heard from the RBA governor saying that essentially inflation is still too high. ANZ, for instance, out with a note earlier, the bank in Australia, saying that easing is going to start in May of next year. They'd previously seen it in February, and now they're actually expecting 2 cuts of 25 basis points.
So the U
had seen 3.
Okay, just in case you guys don't understand what they're saying, the U.S. dollar. What's right now occurring is the U.S. dollar is rapidly losing value. Okay. It's rapidly losing value. I will challenge you to go somewhere and buy what's a good one? Depending on where you are in the country, buy a healthy dozen eggs for $3 flat. Healthy, not cheap eggs, not cheap eggs that may actually, like, you know, it's questionable with how the chickens were raised and what they were fed. Like, none of that. No. Like, quality eggs for a dozen. Okay, I challenge you to find them for $3. Okay.
Earlier, so it's an easier or a shallower easing cycle to come there, perhaps. Brazilian real, of course, in focus. We are seeing it trading at a record low against the greenback. We had the Brazilian government coming through with some spending plans or spending cut plans. Those have very much disappointed investors, and we are seeing those second-order effects. So, for instance, some of the assets that are listed in Asia today coming under pressure. One of those is Brazil.
Somebody's asking me about milk.
Minerals or materials listed in Sydney. That stock is.
You want to know milk? You want to know milk prices? I don't. I mean, like, I don't consume milk like that. But the thing about milk prices, the price of the milk that you are going to be receiving is depending on how close a farm is to you, as well as how processed the milk is. The more processed it is, the cheaper it is, because they're able to water down milk. If that makes sense. They're able to also add additional preservatives into milk in order to make it cheaper and last longer. If you're confused by that, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Also, of course, looking ahead to what happens with Chinese equities today, given we've got the Hang Seng Index on track for its worst month since January of this year. So it really tells us maybe that expectation around stimulus has sort of dissipated right now.
Yes, but at the same time, there was the reports yesterday that perhaps the Central Economic Work Conference, which is going to be held in Beijing next month, which is coming up in a few days, could be earlier than expected, and a lot of speculation midweek that there could be some more actual physical stimulus that could help the consumers. Yeah, well, you certainly get sort of those projections and those spending plans coming through at that point as well. So, again, hopefully it's something to sort of reignite.
I don't mean to be racist, but the China show is looking pretty white right now.
That interest in Chinese equities. We actually do have stocks on track for a weekly gain today, and it is still that story around earnings that's coming through. We've actually got Sang-Mi here to talk about what's happening with Meituan, but that stock is going to be very closely
What
tracked.
happened?
It's actually the heaviest weighting on the Hang Seng Index as well. And listing coming up as well.
This is a trick question, by the way. It's called
listing at the bottom of this hour. Again, just
it was supposed to be a rhetorical trick question. It's called globalization. They have many different hosts on the China show here, though they primarily do focus, and China is also like partnered with them, Bloomberg here. Man, people really don't understand what's going on around them. It's so ridiculous. It's so nuts. America truly is in a boiling frog situation. If I'm able to consume this media and content and give it to you guys and it's news to you guys, I'm happy to be able to do so. However, for the fact that some people are still stuck with what? MSNBC? As if they're speaking anything meaningful? What's the last thing that they posted? Cutting Ray's term to be a disservice to the country? Kash Patel would distract FBI from cracking down on crime? What are we doing? We're so caught up in our own bureaucratic system that we don't even know how to like talk about what's going on in the world, whether it be global warming, other countries, like how they're doing. We're so caught up in our own narrative that we've lost the plot. Hey, remember the last time a country fooled around and found out? Man, that's I'm not even going to entertain clicking on that. CNN. Democrats were. Oh, okay. You know how obsessed we are with ourselves? The FBI. We're not talking about anything meaningful. We're just talking about ourselves and the problems that we have within. Oh my God, Fox. The fact that Fox is actually talking about things outside. I'm like, this is so ridiculous. Such a ridiculous plane of existence that we've actually entered into. This reality, this media reality is so nutty. Things will get better, guys. It's okay. It's okay. As long as you're subscribed to Box, everything will be okay. Silly, silly stuff. So silly. This is also the fault of the boomers, guys. Boomers really let us down. They were so greedy. They were so greedy.
That interest in Chinese equities. We actually do have stocks on track for a weekly gain today, and it is still that story around earnings that's coming through. We've actually got Sang-Mi here to talk about what's happening with Meituan, but that stock is going to be very closely tracked. It's actually the heaviest weighting on the Hang Seng Index as well. And listing coming up as well. We've got Morning Grand Jewelry listing at the bottom of this hour. Again, just another test for the IPO market in Hong Kong. Yuan Fix, given we've seen that long string now of stronger than expected readings coming through from the PBOC, and Hong Kong retail sales data, very interesting given we've got that big interview coming up later this hour.
Absolutely. We'll be watching all these. Meituan is a very interesting story as well, because you think the consumer is not doing well in China, but actually they have been shopping quite well. The stock has more than doubled this year. It's up 55% in the third quarter. Sang-Mi, as you said, we'll be talking about that. We're at the tail end, though, of China's earnings season. In fact, we mentioned Meituan. It's the last of the major Chinese tech companies to be reporting. About 95.
See? Let us analyze this. I am not an economist because most economists don't know what they're talking about. I feel like I know what I'm talking about, but I may be wrong. Okay? I'm not a bureaucrat. So let's take a apt analysis of China's earning season here, okay? The third quarter.
5% of the companies in the MSCI China Index have reported. More than 60% have surprised to the downside, while a third have beat expectations. Just 4% were in line with analyst forecasts. Go ahead.
Well, for more, obviously we both want to talk about this, but bring in our Asia stocks reporter, Sang-Mi Cha. So, Sang-Mi, what's front and center today? I mean, I think would have to be Meituan, right?
Right, that's true. It's going to be reported after the market close, so we're watching closely. Analysts are saying that...
Okay, and understand, just because you see the majority of it is red, I'm going to tell you something. When it comes to improving the material conditions, do you pay? A lot of Chinese companies are beholden to the well-being of the citizens within China. The opposite occurs within the Western world, where the well-being of corporations are beholden to the labor of the worker. I can tell you, if you want to measure whether the standard of living is going up in one area and whether the standard of living is going up in another area, it's pretty obvious. Math and data can be used to make you feel something, to make you feel that things are getting worse or better. Objectively speaking, the GDP within the United States is going up. Is the standard of living going up? No. Okay. This is not an intense question. I'm just asking. I'm just asking you this question. Do you feel the standard of living is going up within the United States? Is it going up? Don't gaslight yourself. If the standard of living can go up for me, it can go up for you, but is it going up in general?
It's going to be good because just like Steve mentioned, the spending has come, turned around a little bit in the space of travel and delivery and e-commerce. That's what all the Meituan businesses are. So it's going to look better. They're expecting that. And we're also watching some other stocks, obviously. New World, after it was deleted from the Hang Seng Index, it's also selling the Science Park in Kai Tak to Chow Tai Fook. So that will be a stock that we're closely watching. And of course, we're following, how the real implications of the tariff that the president-elect Donald Trump mentioned. Is it really going to be 10% on top of the 60% that's already been threatened, or is it going to be just 10% of its own? So a lot of the exporters, we're watching those very closely.
Yeah, but Meituan perhaps could be that bellwether for the retail space in China as well.
All right, so let's look at where our revenue is coming from. Delivery services, commission, online marketing. All right, isn't that funny? China seems to be dealing with a similar problem with the United States. Do you believe, I'm going to ask you guys, do you believe that these three sectors improve the well-being of the average citizen across the globe? You get more stuff delivered to you. That's fine. More people are making commission, so they're making money from selling stuff. Fine. What? Online marketing, so selling stuff. All three of these revenue generating activities has nothing to do with manufacturing anything of value, improving the well-being of communities or localities across the globe. It seems so obvious when you say it out loud, when you're actually able to analyze it. Why is this where most of the money is being spent? It goes back into feudalism. We're doing it again. Service-based, as well as getting people to buy things that they may or may not need. And speaking of buying things, I will always encourage that you do allocate your capital towards good causes that make the world a better place. Please, if you do not feel capable or do not have additional capital or resources, even your own energy and time to show up to your community, to show up to the world around you, please, 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 please do it. The more people that do it, it's such an important thing that we need to do. The irony of capitalism is that it can solve its own problems. It's just that it can be co-opted by bad actors and people who use the mechanism for their own benefit. And there's the saying like, as long as I've gotten mine, fuck all. Ooh, sorry. I didn't mean to swear. All, right? As long as you get your resources, as long as you get yours, all. If that is the natural state of nature that we've created within the system, there are only going to be very few organizations and very few entities and very few people in the long run that's willing to look up, that's willing to provide a better future in order to avoid the regression that we are looking at. We have all this technology, and the standard of living has, in general, has gone up for the average person. Yes, there's a lot of good things that has happened, but just because things are good within our own scope, right? If you're able to watch this right now, if you're able to consume this content, I'm happy for you. I feel blessed that I'm able to even create this content the way that I do. But there's so much more work that needs to be done in order to make sure that life does get better. People don't need to be this polarized with a lot of arbitrary you know? There's so much more that we can do. And that's why I encourage that you subscribe for Box. Subscribe to Box. Whether you are watching on YouTube, Twitch, or you're actually watching on builtonxrp.com, I highly do encourage that you subscribe, follow, take a look into the box and join this movement, join this community as we do create a new economic system, as we are on the forefront to trailblaze a better world for not only you, not only for me, but for your neighbor, for those that you love, and for future generations to come. The world needs to be better.
As kind of giving a little bit of a lift to the tech sector, because it's been fairly lackluster reporting season for tech, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And we actually have been looking at the volatility space in options. And when we look at the cost of protecting against the swings in Hong Kong shares, it's slumped to the monthly low in about 4 years, more than 4 years actually. And so HSI volatility index is now fallen 9.3 points in November, and that's actually the lowest in about 2 months. And remember, on September 23rd, right before the stimulus blitz was actually unleashed, we saw the same gauge go up more than the 2-year high. And the reason was because all the investors were piling in to, get that outsized gain from these equities rise. But it's really interesting to see that in the Asia market, it works a little differently from the VIX index, for instance, in the US, which fluctuates in the opposite direction from the S&P 500 80% of the time. But in Hang Seng index and Hang Seng volatility index, we see that they actually move in tandem, that they did so 53% of the days this year. And that's because a lot of the traders in Asia want to use options for further gains rather than focusing on the hedging, like the
using options for further gains, even though that it's a glorified way to say people are gambling because they want more money, and they will say once more, they will say all. They will say all. Okay, that what truly matters about creating a community and creating sustainable systems is that we need to improve. Now I'm just sounding like a broken record. We need to improve the material conditions because, again, going back here to see the main markets that are generating revenue, and this is also, it does apply within the Western world here. The main systems that we have that are generating revenue are to secure and sell things that do not improve anything. Hold on. Give me a sec. Hold. Where is it? Sorry, guys.
And tracking the Japanese yen against the U.S. dollars, you're seeing some strength come into that across here as well.
Oh, by the way, if you do, okay, hold on. If you want to take me on anything, it's likely that Japan and China will sell additional treasury bonds of the U.S. in order to further devalue the U.S. dollar within the next 12 months, okay? Do not quote me on this. Yeah, unless you want to. But I've been vindicated before. I saw this coming, and they still have more cash on hand. They have more U.S. dollars in cash than the USA. That's why we're in this debt. That's why we're in this situation. And people are saying, "Oh, inflation. Why are things getting so expensive?" So silly. It's such a silly situation. Also, buy XRP on Bitcoin.
Focus. We're just wrapping up earnings.
This will by far be the most important chart. I will be posting this on my Twitter/X. Oh my goodness. This is sometimes whenever I get caught in monologuing. Right here, let me take a screenshot.
The tech sector, because it's been
This right here. Important revenue chart for Q3 to understand where capital is flowing currently. Oop. Most capital is flowing towards goods / services that do not improve the well-being of society. However, if you want to make a quick buck over the next 12 months through your investments, here you go. I am being sarcastic, but I'm also being very literal. It's enough with bricks. Well, guys, wow, quite the show today. Quite the show. A lot of good stuff. And again, when it comes down to where we're sitting at with XRP and the Riley economic system, things are looking up. Things are looking really good. I'm sad about some of the externalities and some of the that we had to go through in order to reach this point. But this is what matters, okay? This is nuts. This feels like a whole entrance to the next chapter, especially with this new presidency. These tariffs that may or may not be coming in. The fact that we are going to be going into economic war with our allies is nutty. But we are pushing towards a new financial system. It is so obvious, guys. It's so obvious. Come on. Just don't get left behind. And if you do get left behind, I still encourage that you check out Box. Take a look into the box. Know what's going on. Join our community. Because you do not have to go into this new world alone. You don't. Hope you enjoyed the show. Really did. Enjoy it myself. It's kind of wild. There's going to be some box updates coming soon here. Tomorrow, starting the MBA program with this platform being the Project to Succeed. Being the media arm of the Riley economic system has truly been a blessing. And yet we're only getting started. We will be getting more journalists, guests. We'll be discussing more of what's going on in the world. We will be discussing what exactly is going into the box. You're not alone on this journey, okay? Hope to talk soon, and you guys have a good evening. Hope you guys have had a good Thanksgiving weekend. It's been a fun one on my end. As we approach the 3-hour mark with this show, I'm going to be reaching out to a couple of people, by the way, for video editing, because yeah, TikToks, etc. It's been a good one, guys. With that, I'll let you be. Take care.